Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone. Okay, in this beautiful occasion, we are from Group 7. We would like to give a presentation about the classroom speaking activities. Okay, the members of Group 7 are Aulia Janati Salika, Henggi Melja, Cindy Lestari Hasanah, Rita Febrilianti, and Cindy Sasnia Putri Ananda Kadir. Okay, let's enjoy with our presentation.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Aulia Janati Salika and I will explain about acting from a script. Acting from a script is one of the classroom activities. In this activity, the teacher asks the student to act out scenes from the course book or written by themselves. It will be like a role play or read a dialogue and conversation. This activity will help students to have fun and also increase reading fluency and expressions. But in this activity, the teacher must be selective to choose who to come to in front of the class first. The teacher must be choose the right person to make the atmosphere of the classroom is good. Okay, the next material will be explained by Henggi Melja.
Hello everyone. Okay, for the first time, I want to introduce myself first. My name is Henggi Melja. You can call me Melja. Okay, in this occasion, I would like to give an explanation about communication games. Okay, we start. Communication games. Games which are designed to provoke communication between students frequently depend on an information gap, so that one student has to talk to a partner in order to solve a puzzle, draw a picture, put things in the right order, or find similarities and differences between pictures. Okay, next, it's for the first time it's about television and radio games. Television and radio games imported to the classroom often provide good fluency activities, as the following examples demonstrate. In 20 questions, the chairperson thinks of an object and tells a team that the object is either animal, vegetable, or mineral, or a combination of two or three of these. The team has to find out what the object is, asking only yes or no. Questions such as, can you use in the kitchen? Or, is it bigger than a person? They get points if they guess the answer in 20 questions or less. Okay, next is about Just a Minute. Just a Minute is a long-running comedy contest where each participant has to speak for 60 seconds or on a subject they are given by the chairperson or teacher without hesitation, repetition, or deviation, or in the case of language students, language mistake. If another contestant hears any of this, he or she interrupts, gets a point that carries on with the subject. The person who is speaking at the end of 60 seconds gets 2 points. Okay, next is about Call My Bluff. Call My Bluff into two teams. Team A is given a word that members of the other teams are likely to know. Team A finds a correct dictionary definition of the word and then makes up two false ones of their own. And then they read out their definitions and Team B has to guess which is the correct one. Now team brings out three definitions of their word, one correct and two false, and Team A has to guess. Okay, next is about a fishbowl. In other games, different tricks or devices are used to make fluent speaking amusing. In fishbowl, for example, two students speak, but a prearranged signal one of the participants has to reach into the fishbowl and take out one of the many pieces of paper. on which students have previously written phrases, questions, and sentences. They have to incorporate this into a conversation right away. Okay, I think that's all about the communication games. Let's continue with the next presenter. Thank you.
I'm Cindy Lestari Hasana. I would like to continue the next material. The next material is discussion. One of the reasons that discussion fail when they do is that students are reluctant to give an opinion in front of the whole class, particularly if they cannot think of anything to say. They have no ideas to convey. Even if there are ideas to convey, students often feel that everyone will pay attention to them if they have an opinion. So, the buzz group is one way for the teacher to avoid this. Students have a chance for quick discussion in small groups before any of them are asked to speak in public. Students can think of ideas and language to express them in advance, so students don't feel pressure during learning. Buzz groups also can be used for a whole range of discussion. For example, we might want students to predict the content or the context of a reading text, or we may want them to talk about their reaction after they have read it. And then another way in which we can train students to respond fluently and immediately is to insert instant comment mini activities into lessons. We can showing them photographs and nominating students to say the first thing that comes into their mind. And then the opposite extreme to informal buzz groups is the formal debate, in which students prepare arguments in the form of scripts that support or oppose various propositions, so that when the debate begins, the speaker produces arguments such as well-trained writing, while the audience participates with their own opinions without scripts about this issue. And then some discussion just happen in the middle of lessons. They are unprepared for by the teacher, but if encouraged, can provide some of the most enjoyable and productive speaking in language classes. One of the best ways of encouraging this discussion is to provide activities which force students to reach a decision. An example of this kind of this activity is where students consider a scenario in which an invigilator during a public exam catches a student copying from hidden notes. The class has to decide between a range of options, such as first, the invigilator should ignore it. Second, she should give the student a sign to show that she is seen, so that the student will stop. And third, she should call the family and tell them the student was cheating. And fourth, she should inform the examining board so that the student will not be able to take the exam again. Okay, move to prepare talks. A popular kind of activity is the prepare talk, where a student makes a presentation on a topic of their own choice. Such talks are not designed for informal, spontaneous conversation because they are prepared. If possible, students should speak from notes rather than from a script. Prepared talks represent a defined and useful speaking genre, and if properly organized, can be extremely interesting for both speaker and listeners.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Rita Febrilianti. I will explain about the questionnaires. Questionnaires are useful because by being pre-planned, they are that both questionnaires and respondent have something to say to each other. Students can design questionnaires on any topic that is appropriate. As they do so, the teacher can aid us as research, helping them in the design process. The result obtained from questionnaires can then form the basis for written word discussion or prepared talk. And the next is simulation and role play. Many students derive great benefit from simulation and role play. Students simulate a real-life encounter, such as business meeting and encounter in an aeroplane, cabin, or an interview, as if they were doing so in the real world, either as themselves in that meeting or aeroplane, or taking on the role of a character different from themselves or with thoughts and feelings they do not necessarily share. Simulation and role play can be used to encourage general oral fluency or to train students for specific situations, especially where they are studying ESP. For a simulation to work, it must, according to Ken Jones, have the following characteristics. A. Reality of function. The student must not think of themselves as students, but as real participants in the situation. B. A simulated environment. The teacher says that the classroom is an airport check-in area, for example. And the last is situation. Students must see how the activity is constructed and they must be given the necessary information to carry out the simulation effectively. The same kind of imaginative interview role play could be based around people in dramatic photography. Simulation and role play went through a period of relative unpopularity, yet this is a pity since they have three distinct advantages. In the first place, they can be good fun and thus motivating. Second, they allow hesitant students to be more forthright in their opinions and behavior than they be when speaking for themselves, since they do not have to take the same responsibility for what they are saying. And the last is, by broadening the world of the classroom to include the world outside, they allow students to use a much wider range of language than some more task-centered activity may do. Okay, I think that's all.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone, let me introduce myself. My full name is Cindy Sasnia Putri Ananda Kadir, and today I would like to presentation about the roles of the teacher. As with any other type of classroom procedure, teachers need to play a number of different roles. But it's different from previous chapter. This is during the speaking activities described above. However, there are three principles if we are trying to get students to speak fluently. The first is prompter. Students sometimes get lost, cannot think of what to say next, or in some other way, lose the fluency we expect of them. We can leave them to struggle out of such situations on their own, and indeed sometimes this may be the best option. However, we may be able to help them and the activity to progress by offering discreet suggestions. If this can be done supportively without disrupting the discussion or forcing out of the rule, it will stop the sense of frustrations that some students feel when they come to a dead end of language or ideas. The second point is participant. Teachers should be good animators when asking students to produce language. Sometimes this can be achieved by setting up an activity clearly and with enthusiasm. At the other times, however, teachers may want to participate in discussion or role plays themselves. That way, they can prompt covertly, introduce new information to help the activity along, ensure continuing engagement, and generally maintain a creative atmosphere. However, in such circumstances, they have to be careful that they don't participate too much, just dominating the speaking and drawing all the attention to themselves. The last is feedback provider. The first question of when and how to give feedback in speaking activities is answered by considering carefully the effect of possible different approaches. When students are in the middle of a speaking activity, our correction may inhibit them and take the communicativeness out of the activity. On the other hand, helpful and general correction may get students out of the difficult misunderstandings and hesitations. Everything depends upon our take and the appropriacy of feedback we give in particular situations. When students have completed an activity, it's vital that we allow them to assess what they have done and that we tell them what, in our opinion, went well. We will respond to the content of the activity as well as the language used. Okay, that's all for me. Thank you very much for your attention. And last I say wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Okay friends, now we come to the end of our presentation and we hope you understand about the material. Thanks for your attention. We end with wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.